house together, doing the same shit together. There's nothing to discuss. So
Just
it's like,
hold buffers, 'cause it's gonna take
I mean,
a second to
it's
buffer, we're gonna
unfortunate,
start
but
soon.
I love my wife, but I can't do 12 hours a day.
Nobody can.
Just have another drink and.
So it's, and I love what I do. So there's plenty of stuff.
That's the other thing about being home all the
I
time.
know.
Strict rules, no cocktails before 6.
All right,
There you go.
We're gonna start the buffer just so it starts hopefully on time.
It's on.
Is it ready? It's ready? Okay. We're good to go. Start your
Okay.
lives.
We're close enough. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Cassie, call the roll, please.
Wiedenhoff.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
Doyle. Here. Horton.
Here.
Monahan.
Here.
White. Ashton. Brown.
Here. Quorum declared. Do we do the minutes first or the public comments? Okay, is there anybody here for public comments not directly related to an agenda item? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of March 6th,
I make
2025.
that motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
I can't take a second from Emily, she wasn't here.
I'll second.
Mr. Moynihan is second. Sorry about that, Emily.
It's okay. I forget.
By voice vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No, is anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving right on to our new business. HPC 25013, discussion on a proposal by Nate Golick and Megan, I hope I say it right, Abeta. 209 Southwest Street for retail storage lockers located throughout downtown.
Is this thing on? Testing.
And
Should be.
we know who
Yep.
you are, but please state your name before you start speaking so
Sure.
the record has it.
I'm Megan Abeta at 209 Southwest Street,
Nathan Golick, 209 Southwest.
and it's Abeta like a beta fish, if that helps. But thank you. We're excited to be here tonight. I'm Megan Abeta. I'm a full-time Galena resident and a proud graduate of Iowa State University. Full-time, I'm a dairy nutritionist who travels all over Wisconsin feeding dairy cows. So I spend a lot of time with people in rural communities whose favorite place to shop is here in Galena. It's a well-known and well-loved amongst the people I work with, and it's oftentimes the place they go to get away, relax, and shop. Right. I'm also speaking to you tonight as the target demographic for the service we're proposing. In fact, it's because I was shopping on Main Street that I had this idea. That's why before Nate speaks in more detail about the lockers themselves, I just wanted to briefly walk you through a typical buyer experience. I can't tell you how many weekends I've seen bachelorette parties, girls trips, couples, getaways, and family outings flooding Main Street. And why do they come? Because of the incredible shopping, the walkability, the charm, and uniqueness of our downtown. But what happens after the first few purchases? Every shopper knows the feeling. You've got your bags in your hands, your coffee in the other one, and you're thinking, you're weighing whether or not to buy that next item, but you're also wondering, where am I gonna put it? It's the same dilemma as going to an amusement park or sightseeing in Chicago. Someone in the group always asks, should I bring my coat, my umbrella, my big purse? And then I don't wanna carry it around all day. The real issue that Nate and I are trying to solve with these lockers is convenience. There are some inconvenient truths about downtown Galena. We've all heard them time and time again. We need more parking, we need more bathrooms, and certainly lockers aren't the whole solution, but they're a smart and forward-thinking piece of it. Nate's going to expand on that in a moment. But I say this not just from a visitor's perspective, I also live here. I've walked downtown, I've shopped locally here, I've carried bags up and down Main Street in various elements like rain or heat. I've had the same pain point so many other shoppers experience here each weekend. In fact, it was this last December when I was Christmas shopping where I stopped buying stuff because I had nowhere to put it, and I didn't want to walk all the way home or back to a B&B if I was a visitor and then come back to Main Street, and I would have benefited from having a locker. I would have bought more if I didn't have to carry everything I had. That was when I had the idea. Galena needs lockers, not flashy, not invasive, and not blocking any shop windows, just practical, safe, and convenient storage for visitors and locals alike. It's not just about shopping. Lockers also support larger community goals. Many of you will remember that Galena Country Tourism recently conducted a survey asking how we can encourage more locals to shop downtown. That conversation is ongoing, but these lockers directly align with those findings. They give locals the option to walk, bike, or drive downtown, store their items, and shop more hands-free. And let's look to the future. Over 2,000 people a season currently take shuttle buses from 6 hotels in town. We've also heard real momentum building around the passenger rail returning to Galena, And when that train arrives, what's one of the first things those visitors are going to ask? Where can I put my stuff? Whether it's a girls group in a shopping spree, like the 150 women coming for Spotless Weekend on April 11th, a day tripper parked all the way over at the Depot Park, or a local just picking up a few gifts, lockers give people the freedom to explore Galena longer, more comfortably, and more happily. Finally, these lockers aren't just about offering convenience for all. It's our intention to donate 10% of the profits to local causes, like the Galena Food Pantry, who just lost their funding, or other community-based organizations. With that, I'd love to introduce Nate, my partner in this proposal and in life. He runs Hotel Galena and is a passionate advocate for thoughtful business in this community.
Miss Abeta, before you switch to Nate, because I'm gonna hit him with the same thing.
Sure.
You made a good pitch for the demand for what you want to propose. Explain to me how it fits into the history of our downtown historic district. Can I get hers, and then I definitely want to hear yours as well.
Yeah, I think it encourages convenience and people to shop here to experience the history of the downtown. Obviously we didn't have lockers, 200 years ago. So I understand that aspect, but what we want from you guys is to help us with the locations and the design to make sure that it's as least encroaching as possible, right? We don't want these big flashy lockers downtown. So that's why we're here. We don't want to place them inappropriately. We want your opinion on what's going to be the most conducive to being convenient for shoppers and people visiting Galena, but also still respect the historic charm of the downtown.
Is there any historic equivalent?
I don't know.
I don't know if like mailboxes or something like that, right? Like anything that could be stored, or like a metal case of some sort, right? So I have some handouts for you that'll kind of give you some ideas of just what we've seen that's already applicable downtown. So we're doing some surveys and some other stuff that I think will be, these visuals will help, I think. But,
I think the fundamental question is, are they appropriate in a historic downtown? They're not historic at all. And that's what our purvey is to look at protecting the historic look of downtown Galena.
Totally, yeah. No, and that's why we're here. That's why we want to have the chance to speak to everybody so that we can get your opinions. Because again, I think like mailboxes or trash cans or
Streetlights or parking meters, and
right.
those things aren't very historic either, but they're adapting to the services that people require or want.
They
downtown.
require, but
Right.
yours are pretty superfluous.
Yeah, they're novel for sure, right?
It's not novel, but even as I would suggest, superfluous. So I think maybe just continue on with your presentation. We'll get into it.
Yeah, it'd be great. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. I won't take up too much more of your time. I just have a few things that I want to go over, key points. So as Megan said, I run Hotel Galena, just located 2 blocks from the floodgates on Highway 20. We're surrounded by other great inns like Farmer's Guest House, Steamboat Inn, the Greenbrier, Lemon and Stone Inn, and more. And every day I see it, guests return from Main Street with arms full of bags, and they say, we're just going to drop off our bags before we return to dinner. So some drive downtown to avoid carrying those bags and coats and umbrellas, adding to the parking congestion we're all trying to solve. It's our intention to work with the hotels offering shuttle service to educate those accommodation providers about our lockers so they can tell their guests, you don't have to drive, walk, store your bags, and enjoy your day. But I'd like to shift gears now and speak more directly to the ordinance, location, and visual design of the lockers, because that's the big part of the conversation lies. In doing so, I'll review just 5 points with you today, and then I'll be referencing those 3 handouts that we provided you. Each of you should have the locker or bridge survey results, the existing structures in Galena, and the locker raft design examples. Before starting out again, let me be clear, we aren't asking the city for any money or infrastructure for these lockers, and these lockers will not block any shop windows or anything like that. They can be placed using a pallet jack and can be relocated if necessary. So with that, number 1, the intent and function are different and novel. Let's talk about the ordinance. Section 110.45 on coin-operated devices was written with jukeboxes and pinball machines and vending machines in mind. These devices entertain or dispense products. Our lockers don't entertain. They don't sell trinkets. They don't light up, spin, or make noise. They are passive infrastructure providing secure temporary storage. I think it might be more appropriate to compare them to public service like park benches that we see lining Main Street for shoppers to rest, parking meters that charge for parking but don't fall under the coin-operated device ordinance but accept cash only, mail drop boxes that are comparable footprint to the locker towers, or the information kiosks like we see in Washington Park, which isn't historic and is larger than our lockers, but provide a service to patrons of Galena. None of these are screened, yet they are part of the visual language of Galena's streetscape. They add to the aesthetic or value in some way. That is our intention as well. Number two, the lockers can be designed to blend in, but can still be useful. The ordinance also brings up screening, but I asked this, do we screen our parking meters or blue USPS mailboxes for tourism kiosks? No, and for good reason. They must be visible to serve their function. Our lockers are 37.5 inches in length, 23 inches in width, and 76 inches high. So they're comparable in size to some of these other examples I provided. Number three, proposed locations. As requested by the Historic Preservation Committee, we'd like to detail our proposed locations. Phase one, what we'd like to see is 2 towers at Trolley Depot on private property. We've already spoken with them and they've been supportive of the first pilot location, pending approval from appropriate government bodies. And then phase two, if the business model proves successful, we would expand to other potential areas like potentially with Washington Park or Commerce and Main Street connecting streets, the restaurant district near Gavi's Sports Bar, or the underutilized space at Diagonal Street, Main Street, as we've said in the examples that we emailed over. All proposed units will be placed in minimally invasive, minimal visual disruption or private property or designated public space and will be intentionally sited to complement, not compete with the historic landscape. Number four, community support and survey results. As you see with your handout, we're conducting a downtown business survey right now and we'll present full results to City Council on April 14th. We've only surveyed 28 respondents so far, but 80% of shop owners either support lockers in the other business or are neutral. 46% believe lockers would encourage customers to shop longer and purchase more. Additionally, 70% of businesses say they currently hold items for customers, speaking to the need for something like this. And many report that those items are often forgotten and need to be shipped later. So adding another added hassle. And 39% say customers request items to be held at least once a week. And finally, number five, governance, public benefit in the future of Galena. Let's create a new ordinance, not repurpose an old one. A dedicated framework gives us the opportunity to choose locations with care, set visual standards, monitor performance, protect the historic character, adapt as Galena evolves. And it's not just for the tourists, this is for our employees that might commute in, that want to use the lockers, locals and visitors alike. As we support public transit, biking, walking, and one-day rail, these lockers will play a crucial role in making Galena a more walkable, shoppable, and sustainable town for years to come. And in closing, Galena's Main Street is a treasure, and this treasure deserves to be supported. We don't want to do anything to diminish Galena's historic charm. Just as small mailboxes have evolved over time, so too have shoppers' expectations. Galena is rare. Main streets across the U.S. are in decline, and if Galena is to remain a vibrant and beautiful downtown, we should adapt to listen to the needs of our patrons that support our way of life. We think autonomous retail storage lockers help to contribute to our community's continued growth and success today and in the future. These lockers are not eyesores. They're not gimmicks. They are smart, respectful, and purpose-built additions to a downtown that already leads the state in tourism. Thank you for your time and your thoughtful consideration, your stewardship of one of our most beautiful towns in America, and we welcome your questions and your feedback.
I do have a few questions. If
You
that's
go
okay.
first.
All right, thank you. So these storage units, while they may not dispense or entertain, they do provide a service, correct? Okay. Next thing, have you thought about asking the shop owners that are interested to have these inside of the shop or, inside of the DeSoto Hotel parking garage? Have they been willing to do those types of things?
So we've thought about the inside. The only issue with inside is that shop owners typically like to come and go as they please. And if people put their stuff in the lockers, they won't have access to it after hours. And oftentimes the need is when they want to go to dinner and have wine or whatever, and then they can pick up their stuff later. So that one's probably out. But we have tried to reach out to DeSoto about the parking garages. We do think that's still a viable option, whether this goes through or, but we haven't heard back from them yet. So we're still working on communicating with
Just
them.
to piggyback on that, the service that they provide is convenience, right? And so, again, I think some of the shop owners, if they go home or whatnot, they would have to have access. So the nice thing about them being outside would be that they would be accessed 24/7.
Right. My purpose of asking if they provide a service was, I believe the ordinance that you mentioned about the coin, it also states provides a service, comma.
Correct.
Okay, so these do provide a service, and those types of items, our current ordinance does not allow those on downtown Main Street or on the side streets. I
Correct.
believe that to be correct.
That's correct. It can't even be on this side of Commerce.
Yeah. So what about back by the dike?
They're allowed there.
They would be allowed there.
Yep.
And there is a lot of parking back there. I'm just trying to throw out options for you. I understand the belief and the need. So those were my questions. If you've thought about Back Street and you've thought about the inside of the DeSoto Hotel garage, because in my mind, having read the ordinance, and that's why I asked the first question,
Right.
does it provide a service? Yes, it does. Okay.
Which we understood, that's why we're asking for either an amendment or a whole new ordinance to maybe change. And we don't want anything on Main Street, truly we don't. We want to utilize some unused space more on the side streets because like you said, we've said convenience is king and oftentimes people
Sure.
won't want to walk all the way to a parking
Yeah.
lot.
And you know, we don't do those type of ordinance in this group
Right,
here. So,
right.
okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure you
Yes.
I think
understood.
a really applicable example might be by these bathrooms, right? So a lot of people will park over at Depot Park, they take the bridge over, right?
But that would be Back Street back there.
Yes.
Correct,
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
That's one of the locations I'm working at, just as much as DeSoto, just as much as some of the side
Trolley
streets.
Depot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, but Trolley Depot's different. What he's talking about is the bathrooms here, which if you got the city to agree to it, I think would be
Ideal.
approved.
Yes.
That'd be ideal.
Yes.
The minute you move over to Trolley Depot, I think you're gonna have some resistance on this
Right.
board.
Right. Because it's the back of, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You'd have to be on this side in essence.
Right.
but it would be on private property, but outside, right? So.
However, it's highly visible, as your example shows,
Correct.
as you walk down Main Street, it actually interferes with the historic streetscape of Galena.
Well, we could also put it closer to the doors of Trolley Depot, down further below, so not directly underneath that sign. The reason Trolley Depot is an ideal location is one, it's on one end of Main Street, so when people come all the way over here, they have somewhere to put stuff. Two, there's a lot of people that ride the trolley that will want somewhere to store their stuff, especially if they've been shopping all day and they don't want to lug it on the trolley. So that was kind of one of the main reasons for why Trolley Depot was a nice location to put the locker, especially because they're supportive of it, but.
So you guys make a great pitch for demand and we understand your marketing approach. None of that's in our purview.
Right.
We have a very defined goal. This commission does one thing.
Mhm.
We protect the historic district in the city of Galena. The very modern look and approach of this product, and I don't disagree with you about your whole pitch. It doesn't belong in certain sections of our downtown, period, in my opinion. And some of the examples you give, they're well off Main Street. I mean, these electric,
Right.
they're here at the most modern building in downtown Galena. I mean, they're not exactly good examples. These benches out on Main Street are, I believe, ADA required. So the garbage cans, that's a different problem for me, but that was an economic decision that city council made. I guess I'm just looking for you guys to give us the reason this belongs in the historic downtown part of Galena, because I haven't
I
heard
think
it.
we all acknowledge that they're novel, that they're new, that they're a new way of solving a problem, right? That speaks to the vibrance of Galena. I think that again, whether it's at Washington Park or Trolley Depot or what have you, what we're seeking is to try to put them in places that might be the most convenient in the historic district, that wouldn't have to be screened, that would be visible but aesthetically pleasing, that wouldn't take away from the charm of the historic nature. So we could wrap them in, brick colored wrap or something like that, or what have you. We can work with the design, and that's where we're kind of seeing if this body had an opinion on just if they were to be able to be placed downtown with this exception, they had to look like X or Y, right? It's kind of what you know, again, we know that they're new, we know that, but we also know that there's, that's what shoppers are looking for. And so how do we marry both, right?
I think the way we marry both is take a harder look at where they are allowed from a downtown, which would be the back street.
Sure.
I love the idea of out over here because a lot of people congregate in this area. While it is at only one end of the town, the other end of the town, back streets down there too. So
Your idea about the inside of some of these
The soda
stores
house.
and restaurants makes perfect sense. I can understand the point that if somebody wants to leave at 4 or 5 o'clock, they're gonna lose access to the storage. But look at all the places that aren't that way. I mean, Aila's is open till 1, Grape's open till 1, Gavi's is open till midnight. I mean, you know, there's a lot of places that wouldn't mind having people coming through their shop as the last thing they do before they go to
yeah,
their car.
especially some of the places you named, because those
Right.
folks might be then tempted to grab a
Yeah, we
quick
could
bite
certainly
or.
see a benefit in those shop owners that choose if they wanted this service, because those people might come back, right, and shop again, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Or if it's at Pilates, for example, a coffee shop, you know, or whatever, they go in there and they can get it. We're, again, the main reason why we thought this was gonna be the biggest hurdle first, right?
Right.
Is to try to do it on the outside. We're not, it's not that we're not amenable to, you know, other locations, whether they're inside or
Well,
something like that.
I'll give you a perfect example. The ATM companies, they're all going around and getting them put inside the buildings and doing a fee splitting with the shop owners. And we don't have them out on the street anymore at all. There is not a single one in downtown Galena.
We
So,
completely understand and respect. It's difficult to argue that these are historic. Of course they're not. We know that. So
Yeah.
that's why we came tonight. We wanted to understand where you guys were coming from and work with you to make something work that was benefiting Galena overall. We wanted as close as possible without disrupting historic charm. That's why we're here tonight. We're not trying to argue.
no, I think what
Right.
you're hearing from us is we agree there's a demand, but our charter is the historic, which with the beautiful, you know, place that you've got down there, you get that,
Mhm.
and we got to protect the rest of it. That's why we were giving you options of inside of buildings, back street, places that people could get to, so you still could provide your service.
Have you guys had any contact with zoning, who might be the ones that help with the locations? Zoning may provide you with your restrictions on where they can't go.
Okay.
Because our purview would be if they're in an area that we have, I don't like the word jurisdiction over, but the historic area, then that's really all we're really here to deal with.
Sure. And we're
So it'd be
learning.
helpful to know
right.
where they,
Sure.
as Mr. Monahan said,
Yeah, I think,
can go. The ones by Gabi's, as far as the paperwork that we got originally, the 2 banks down there on each side. Yeah,
No way.
Yeah,
yeah, I think we
No
spoke
matter what they look like.
Right.
with Jonathan Miller, and he felt as though that it should go through city council first, and then we spoke with city council, and they suggested it might come here. And then
Okay.
we spoke to this group, and some people feel that we should speak, and so we're talking to everybody.
And that's great, and we really appreciate it, but I guess in short, my voice would be that, it wouldn't matter how much you could, I really think this wrap of the cityscape one is really cute, not appropriate for us. But, you know, again, they wouldn't be anywhere downtown, Main Street. Back Street's a great spot, but I think even then, they couldn't look like that.
Yeah.
But the
So in
ability
that
to
black and
raffle-
white wrap, right, you'd be amenable to something like that.
This is a personal opinion, not the board's
That's what
opinion. That's far more nicer
Then
They
the
blend.
back or,
than the actual
Right, so-
cityscape.
oh, sure.
So there's a picture behind you, right, I assume that's Galena.
Yeah.
You could wrap a locker in something like that, right?
But it
Black-
still doesn't integrate visually into a historic downtown, no matter what. Even if you put a historic
agreed.
wrap on it. it
No,
Yeah,
they're
no,
saying
it's
even the
not
back
that
street
bad.
ones would need
No,
to
but
be, they couldn't.
Right.
It would look good next to this bathroom back here, which is
Yeah.
where that'd be the busiest locker they have anyway, I
Right.
guarantee it, because it's the first
Absolutely.
place
And that-
everybody
that
goes
would
and the
not
last
be-
place
That
everybody
wouldn't be
goes.
terribly
and a wrap like that would fit back there.
Oh, yeah.
beside the bathrooms versus that. You know what I'm
Jack?
saying?
Has a foyer next to big bills too.
Yep.
That you might be able to ask him about.
Yep.
Because that was one of the locations that's on here, but that's inside.
Inside.
And
Sure.
but
That's a
I,
big foyer.
it's
Yeah,
exactly.
It is.
And that's on Main Street.
Inside.
But it's inside, but maybe he'd like the business.
Well, he's
You know.
got the old Percentos right behind him,
Right.
which
Mm.
is empty,
Mhm.
which could easily store a set of these lockers, and you could put a great big sign that said storage, because you're not competing with anything in that space.
Oh, that's true.
Well, that's why we came tonight, right? We weren't trying to push something that you weren't,
No,
happy with, but we wanted ideas and wanted to work with you guys. So we do appreciate your feedback and your commentary and your time. Thank you.
I think any space where people go and do something, get on the trolley, go into a museum, I've gone shopping and I've gone to the History Museum when it was down here, and nothing is not fun as like walking around the museum like this, like holding your stuff because you want to look at things and you also don't want to knock over an artifact, which is not something you can do in there. They're very careful, but something you're worried about. So I agree. It's something that would be very convenient.
I think you're on something. There's no question.
Yeah.
It's a matter of procedure and
Sure.
progression is all.
So you guys wouldn't weigh in on an opinion on if it were to be applicable to this ordinance, right? That wouldn't fall under your purview, right?
No,
No.
but we could send a recommendation up to council that says that an alteration to the ordinance that allowed for these to be in the types of places we're talking about would pass muster. I mean,
Okay.
Cause
the depot parking lot over there, it wouldn't be offensive to me over there, but there'd also be pointless because everybody's car's there, so they're gonna put their
Right.
package in their car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But someplace like this bathroom, I think is just ideal.
The bathroom.
Yeah.
But to be clear, this body is gonna weigh in on a opinion on like the trolley depot or anything that would either be private property or otherwise, whether it's on Main Street or parallel, or I'm sorry, perpendicular to Main Street on any of those other streets. I just want to be clear, that would not be.
So insert the word outdoor private property, and that's where you're running into the issue.
Okay.
We're all for private property surrounded by brick. It's the outside part.
Sure.
And any change to the ordinance that would allow you to put it on one of our historic streets is going to be met with resistance. City council can overrule us anytime they want, but recently they haven't been doing that very much. So, yeah,
'Cause
we
leave
don't,
their houses. Just kidding.
we don't, I shouldn't say we, I speak for me. The trolley depot is not the ideal place because it is extremely highly visible and it is kind of the crossroads of a bunch of different ways of getting into our town,
Sure.
which I see the marketing advantage to you. I don't miss that, but
It's valuable to trolley too.
right, valuable to trolley too.
So of course, under the current ordinance, we could still put them there, but they'd have to be screened. Is what I understand.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so either.
No, I think your current ordinance wouldn't let you put them there at all.
screened or otherwise.
Correct, because it's both on Commerce and on a side street from Maine, so it actually offends the ordinance twice.
Did you have a hard time getting a certain screen past us too?
Yeah.
Because that would come from our purview.
Right.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
where I just wanted to clarify.
We're just trying to understand
Right,
moving
right.
forward, just so you guys would be in support of it, of course, not being on Main Street or any of the side streets, but these locations we talked about,
On Commerce Street.
or Commerce
But,
Street.
Back
Back street, I mean-
streets or inside buildings.
So no.
We have to discuss it, but that's what I would be
Right.
comfortable
Yeah,
with.
we could
Right.
discuss it, but.
And just so the parking lot, or just
Yeah,
so the
inside the
parking.
parking garage is
garage.
fine,
Yeah.
but it's technically.
It's
Or that
inside.
place that Jack has.
And
Yeah.
there's,
I mean, as long as we're being clear, I think I speak for the board. I think we're all supportive of the concept. I think most of us will agree that it's probably a needed thing. When we comment, it may not sound as friendly as that, but we do support you. We just want to help you get there in the right manner. That's all.
But just remember,
We want to
we're,
get there the right way.
we're the historic board, we're not the zoning board, and we're not the,
and we're not
Council.
the fashion police. either.
yeah.
Whether we think it looks
Yeah.
good or not, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Just to be clear.
Well, we weren't sure who to ask about that. We didn't want to put a wrap on there that everyone hated, and that's why we're like, maybe the historic like commission, so, yeah.
That
I
they
think we should decide what they look like.
Well, I will tell you, Emily, we've had board people that have felt that way. They immediately go to that issue. No, there's, you know, again, take like that easy cell building with the parking lot there. You know, do I want it right up on Commerce? No, but boy, you would be hard pressed to make that look worse.
That's fair.
So you'd probably get a fair amount of leniency with anything you were thinking about there.
Okay.
And so in taking that example, then we would come back to, you know, like select specific locations, or that would go through zoning in your opinion?
Well, it can be done by variance, it can be done by text amendment. So that can be done, but it would have to start at zoning.
Okay.
It depends on the interpretation of the statute. It doesn't actually say. It doesn't even really say how far off Commerce you'd have to be to fall outside the ordinance, but anything you do outside the ordinance, and I truly believe that bathroom is outside the ordinance. I think that if the city agreed to let you put it there, there's no offense at all.
Okay.
I would
Might have to be our next step with the council, is asking about putting
Right.
that on public property. That might get a little.
my suggestion would be, I don't know what you think, but you know, depending on our discussion, would be to go talk to Jonathan as the next step to determine where it goes from there based on our clarity we provide from the historic board. Would you agree?
I think that's right. I don't think you'll have any trouble coming up with, say, 6 locations, both in and out of buildings that are highly productive to you, that are not a problem to us, zoning or city council.
Yeah.
But you're just gonna have to put a lot more thought into it than the ones you gave us, because most of those are dead on arrival.
Yeah.
Got it.
So,
I don't have any further questions.
anybody
Okay.
else?
You did a nice job presenting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I
You
have a
did.
question, but it's not anything that I could comment on. I'm just curious. What is the, like, say I've come to Galena, I've put something in the locker, I leave Galena,
Mhm.
I left it in the locker. Do you have a plan for how I could get my stuff, or is it
Yeah.
just goes into an auction? Do I like buy it?
No action.
You guys have a yard sale at the end of the
I
year?
know, it's like the police
That's
lost
so
their
cool,
bag.
We have a policy at the hotel, right? So we would probably follow a similar statute. Like there would be a way to contact us as admin of the lockers, and then they'll, if they reach out to us, and we can identify through the app who it belongs to, and we can get it back to them.
Okay.
So we would have a policy in place.
Probably
Yeah.
keep it for, what is it, 6 months at the hotel?
No,
3
3 months.
3 months, sorry, 3 months at the hotel. You
Yeah.
keep it. If you don't hear from
We
them,
make an
no
effort.
communication, then.
We're while
And
we're
it
trying
ends
to get
up
into the
into
storage
9
business,
West
the
Street.
hotel is not in the storage business, so we don't we make an effort to reach out to them, but we don't go, we're not
Okay.
writing them or driving to their house, so we're gonna get it back to them.
I'm sure you guys know that it is great grounds for mischief.
Yeah.
The lockers?
Yes.
Or the hotels?
Well, people that are disgruntled can put food in there that they know is going to spoil and be god awful. And as you know, they were all taken out of airports back in the 70s because people were using it as a place to leave a bomb and
Sure.
that
So-
kind of thing.
That's interesting that you say that. So of course, the
Sellable
lockers,
items.
there'll be an
Yeah.
app, right? So if you're probably more likely to bring some mischief into one of the stores than you might be with the lockers, because you're identified with your phone.
Right.
So if you wanted to access it, they're tamper proof is my understanding. So they have a very small way. I mean, people will break into anything, but certainly they're tried to be tamper proof. And so you have to link it through an app, and you have to put over your personal information, add a credit card. So if they were to put anything,
Nefarious.
illegal in there, it'd probably be able to track them down pretty quickly,
Connections.
Right. And we're also going to check them I don't know, we're trying to figure out those details, but we don't want
This was
something to
step one.
sit in there for 7 weeks. We're going to we'll know that a locker hasn't been
That starts
opened in
your
so
heart.
long, and we'll go check on things.
Right. Yeah, you'll need to, or you'll
Yeah.
regret it.
We don't want rotten food.
You'll regret it.
And Paul at Root Beer Reverie, he made the point, he was like, if people put soda in these things in the wintertime, it's gonna explode and cause a
Right,
problem.
sure
Like,
will.
how we never thought about that either. So there's plenty of little
So do
things.
these require power?
They're battery.
Battery, so are they solar per chance?
No, I think the batteries just have to be replaced,
It's very
twice a year.
low input, so they last a long time.
Okay, I'm just curious. how that-
When you know there's ways around the identity with the phone and,
Sure,
because they're also
People get
used
creative.
as drug drops.
right.
One guy drops them, leaves, the other guy comes and picks them up. That's another common use for those. I don't really think a lot of that goes on in Galena, frankly, but
I don't
that has
know.
been a traditional problem with lockers.
Well, I hear we're getting a new canine unit at the
Yeah.
police, so maybe we can utilize him to come sniff them every once in a
There you
while.
go.
Sting operation.
Trust me when I say, we have some officers that regularly use Mr. Canine to sniff things.
We're getting our own. They announced it at the leadership lunch, so we'll have our own Officer Canine Galena.
You guys did really well.
Thank you. Yeah, we put a lot of work into it. We're trying.
So, I guess as far as like moving forward, your suggestion would be to, try to amend this ordinance to try to fit under,
No, I think the location.
I think our recommendation is, that you select locations that better adapt to the ordinance, and if they're slightly outside the ordinance and you need us to opine on whether we would agree to it or not, we'd be happy to.
Okay.
As of the group that you've given us, I think you'll struggle to find a vote on this board that would favor them.
Sure.
So, but that doesn't mean we're closed-minded to it, we're not.
Sure.
that's what we needed to know. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Appreciate
Enjoy
it.
your evening.
All right, a motion to adjourn,
I'll make that motion.
second?
Can I second this
You
motion?
can.
You can, you're here.
I'm
You have
here.
the benefit of being here, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned, Cassie.
So, Mr. Wells,
Yes.
what's your connection? Who's your dad?
Well, my dad is